right, welcome back to Mixtape Stories. Today we have a very special guest, world champion Jamie Fisher. How's it going?
I feel like I immediately need to clarify. It's just in bench press.
In bench press, you're still a world champion.
Okay, technically, yes. But also, it's just bench press.
Just bench press. World champion bench presser Jamie Fisher.
Yes.
When people say like world champion, like Olympic world champion, they're like, oh wait, first of all, it's just in this one event.
Okay, well when you put it that way, also that sounds way cooler. But fine, world champion.
So world champion powerlifter Jamie Fisher. How's it going?
It's going. I'm very sad that he's already gotten off my lap. He was the real special guest.
He'll go back and forth. That's what he does. So I asked you to make I guess, are we calling this like a workout playlist or just like a uplifting powerlifting playlist?
So it's kind of both. So it's definitely more geared towards powerlifting. So I'll listen to songs like this when I'm at the gym, but also before, if I'm at a meet and I'm getting ready to go, I'll listen. There's very certain songs that I'll listen to get like ready to go out on the platform, but like I can't have the music on when I'm on the platform.
Okay, so it's like hype music.
Yeah.
And then I specifically asked because you had a lot of different varieties, very diverse, and to narrow it down from like the 80 that you gave me to 5, I asked that we kind of focus on like female girl power type songs. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate you doing that. When it comes to kind of coming up with this list or just coming up in songs in general, like what goes into these types of songs that hype you up?
So I feel like actually a lot on that list. So yeah, there were definitely like a lot of different genres and a lot of different types of music on there. But I think kind of a running theme, honestly, through there, even without you asking me to narrow it down to like female empowering artists, I feel like that is still more of a running theme throughout the entire playlist. So for me, powerlifting, being a woman in strength sports is really empowering as a female. It's typically a male-dominated space. And so I find that songs that are performed by like strong female artists, I can relate to a lot more, and I find a lot more like hype.
That's awesome. I think it's fun to kind of look at, I don't know if this is just part of me and like neurotypical way of processing things. I mean, I have a podcast, so of course there's like aspects of my brain that are just weird. But like when you sent these lists, there's that through line, of course, of like female empowerment, but there's also a lot of like a lot of these songs are these artists kind of reinventing themselves. And it's kind of cool because like you're kind of not new, but like you discovered powerlifting kind of later in life, right? What got you into it, and what made you decide to like start powerlifting?
So it was actually graduate school. So when I was in my genetic counseling program, I've always been a really competitive person, and I was channeling my competitive energy against people. It didn't matter. Like I didn't need to be competitive against my classmates, and I was like, oh, I'm insufferable. Like I need to find a better way to channel this competitive energy that I have. And I'd always done sports growing up. I competed I did pole vaulting in college. And as part of that, we did some strength training. I didn't love it then, but it grew on me over time. And so when I was looking for some way to not be insufferable in graduate school, I was like, oh, well, I really liked that, and I like being strong, so I will go into something with strength sports. And originally I had thought the only thing I really knew about was like the bodybuilding type competitions, so that was originally the direction I was going in, but that quickly changed. It quickly changed because the minute I found powerlifting, I was like, oh, okay, I can actually be strong, and it's a display of strength. Not that bodybuilding isn't. It's just a different display of strength that I think is more aligned with who I am as a person. And to me, it's more like direct competition. And so I found a lot of information, honestly, on Instagram and went from there. I thought I knew what I was doing when I first started. I definitely didn't, but I was confident enough to wing it. And I did my first competition. I had a great time, and really never looked back. I've been competing for about 8, 9 years now. And plan to continue.
That's awesome. You just so I mentioned world champion because you just got back from Norway. There was a competition and you won first place. How does it work? Not to get in too much into like the weeds of like powerlifting as a sport, but like how are these competitions like processed? Like how are they set up and do they determine first? Because you guys are all different weight classes, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like I said, this one was bench only. So a typical powerlifting meet is also gonna include squat, bench, and deadlifts. That world competition is going on now, but the one I did was bench only. Everyone is separated out by weight class, and so there is a winner of each weight class, and within each weight class, it's whoever lifts the most. To just give a quick overview, the way that the competition goes is you get 3 attempts to lift as much as you can. Where it becomes strategic is more if you set a certain weight and you miss it, you can either retake that weight or go up. You cannot go back down. Okay. So you don't want to set anything too high. But yeah, it's decided by whoever can lift the most in their 3 attempts.
Cool. That's dope. What was your winning weight lift?
So my winning weight lift, so everything's in kilos. So it's 107.5 kilos, which works out to about 237 pounds.
Awesome. That's cool. So when it comes to like getting you hyped up, we talked about you kind of picking these songs and there is that through line. Is there like a process like in listening to it? Like, do you have it in a certain order? Do you have it set up to where it's just like on random? Like how do you go? Is it different every time? Does it depend on the situation?
It's pretty consistent, actually. There's like a couple songs that I like really strongly attribute to certain circumstances. It is a little bit funny for bench specifically because in the gym, I actually try to not get too hyped. So a lot of the times it's like sad girl music. It's still female artists, but it's like sad girl songs. But for like bench specifically, in competition, I want like goddess energy. So it's really songs where women are talking about being gods, goddesses, like the strongest that they possibly could be. And that gives me like confidence when I walk out onto the platform that like, yeah, no, I'm the shit.
Yeah.
Like I'm good at this.
That's dope. That actually is a great transition to your first song. You picked Halsey, I'm Not a Woman, I'm a God. Other than what you just stated, what went into picking this song?
It's a lot of that. Like I relate very strongly to that song. Also her saying that I'm a problem. Because fair, but just I actually kind of like also that she says God and not goddess. Like she is like the epitome, and that is the energy. If I'm going out to prove that I'm strongest in the world at something, it's because I'm a fucking god. Like that's having that in my ear before I go helps to remind me like who I am and what I'm here to do.
That's dope. So this song came out on the album I Can't Have Love. If I Can't Have Love, I Want Power. It came out in 2021. I love when artists are able to make a song about something very specific and it has different interpretations, or it can be used for different things, even if you're not necessarily interpreted that way. This song is about like her being a mother, and it's about like her, like she says God because she's like literally making life. And the fact that like and she knew this obviously going in, it transcended from that to being this like anthem for like women empowerment. I think it just goes a long way because of how she's able to kind of have people dissect it in different ways, and it can be used in so many different ways. Even if you're like reading the lyrics straightforward, it's much more than just being a mom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually had no idea that was her intention behind the song. So it's so obvious that it's become so much more than just about being a mother. Not like just being a mother. That still, you are literally creating life. That is an amazing thing that women can do. But the song clearly goes beyond that. And means so much more for just women empowerment in general. So it's really cool to learn that was the origin of the song.
Yeah. So it's funny because Okay, I met you through my wife. You guys went to grad school together.
When I was an asshole for being too competitive, I was like, "Oh no, I like the people here. I don't want to do that to them."
I think that was maybe part of your charm. I think you guys instantly became pretty close. And you live in Austin now, where we live, and we saw Halsey together during South by Southwest. To me, Halsey was just kind of there. I didn't know much about her, so seeing her live really kind of got me into her. She's a lot more diverse than some pop stars, or at least openly. I'm sure a lot of pop stars have like diversity, but they are like limited to what they're told to do from their producers or what's the right step for them. She has like a lot of alternative background. She has a lot of like rock influence, but she also meshes it really well. This song is produced by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, who are in Nine Inch Nails. And the first time I heard this song, I was just listening to it, and I was like, oh, this sounds a lot like the song Closer by Nine Inch Nails. And I look it up, and I think they produced a whole album, if I understand correctly. But yeah, it's something that you don't see a lot of pop stars working with these 90s alt rockers. What do you think about her and how she's able to kind of have her cake and eat it too, and make these pop songs, but also use these types of producers to produce this type of sound?
I I think that makes her more unique than a lot of other artists. I know there's a lot of artists that there's a lot of very popular female artists right now, and I just don't resonate with their music as much. I think because a lot of the other music I listen to has more emo, rock, punk background, is why Halsey is up there for female artists for me. I think it gives her a more unique sound, and that in combination with the lyrics she writes being really relatable and really empowering to women is what I like most about listening to her, or what I enjoy most about her music.
Yeah, she's super interesting because she kind of grew up in like the alt scene herself. I think she's from New Jersey, and I think when she was around 16, she started booking shows at like one of the local venues. And I saw an interview where it was not an interview, it was like a meet and greet, and someone asked her like on TikTok about her booking shows, and she booked bands like Devil Wears Prada, A Day to Remember. So she's very much not just like a fan of those bands, but she's also within the scene itself. I remember her kind of getting shit because she like mentioned some of the hardcore shows that she like, booked, and then she mentioned like, oh, like, and then some of the more commercial stuff like A Devil Wears Prada, and a bunch of people were like, how is that commercial? She doesn't know what she's talking about. And she was just, I think from that perspective, especially like as a woman in the scene, like if she didn't put that like outlier, people would be like, oh, that's like that's like mall punk shit, like I think she's very much aware of that, and that made me kind of like look at her in a very different way, not just because she's able to do these things or was able to do these things and kind of go through the scene that way, but also she's like has a self-awareness that goes beyond just like, oh, I go to Hot Topic and buy these albums.
Yeah, I think it's very obvious that she is not just she's not just saying this to say it, like this is music that she relates to personally, and also probably grew up listening to.
Yeah, it's and I think that just she's grown as an artist, and I feel like most artists, especially artists who have a lot of success, she's able to kind of get a little bit more control of what she puts out, and I'm sure just a lot of it's too is just like growing up while you're producing music. Her sound has definitely she's been able to, it seems, to like do that kind of stuff, but also still stay true to like what sells and like what is pop. So she's never like turned her back on like where she came from, but also is able to kind of do it in a pop way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she's been pretty outspoken in a lot of I don't want to say she's super political because she's not overly political, but she's been very outspoken when it's come to women's rights as well. And so I think that you can hear that in her music, but also like outwardly she's spoken about those at her shows. And I think her maintaining a sound that is a little bit more of like the commercial like pop allows her to have that audience to be and remain popular while still being so vocal about that. And so I like that that's what she uses her big platform for.
For sure. Yeah, and it's funny because like you see some artists who kind of they change their sound a little bit and then they are like dismissive of like the pop sound, and she's never done that. I feel like she's been able to really live in both worlds pretty evenly, and in a way that isn't like derogatory to like pop music as like this kind of like phase or whatever. And I just really appreciate she's able to do all of that and still like stay true to herself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I value genuineness just in all aspects of my life, and she feels like a very genuine artist to me. Like she's not doing it to make I mean, I'm sure the millions are nice, but she's not doing it like for that reason, and she's not being someone that she's not. And I mean, obviously I don't know her personally, but I think that's just what comes through to me in her music. When we saw her live, it just all seems very like real to me.
Oh, for sure. So just kind of coming back to the song, she's talked about how this song also represents, and like a lot of the album, because it is essentially a concept album about like the quote unquote like Madonna whore complex, where in society's mind, women can be either like the Madonna figure, it's very like, decent and like humble, or they're a whore. And that's what she's kind of battling, or that's what she's kind of exposing in this song. And that in the music, have you seen the music video for it?
I haven't.
It's really interesting. First of all, like they released this film in anticipation of the album. It was like 2 days before the album came out, and this song, the music video for it was essentially like a short film where they're.
Oh, now I'm sad. I haven't seen it.
Oh,
I love music videos like that.
It's so cinematic, and it's so like. It's one of those things where like it's artsy but not like hoity-toity. Like you're not gonna like.
See, I love that. Oh my! After we're done, I'm definitely gonna watch it. I love music videos like that, and I can't believe I've actually never seen this because I usually do watch music videos.
Yeah, I mean, from like a visual medium, the cinematography is really great. It's very epic. The first half of it, it's very like the goddess or the god part, where like she's kind of in this like temple and she's like essentially like being worshipped. And in the second half of it's kind of a little bit like more poppy. So it's the like kind of the twofold of being a woman and what she's trying to explain in her song. It's really cool. I definitely recommend it. You should check it out. But yeah, I think that whole concept of like the Madonna whore complex of being pure or being, a harlot or whatever is something that is so ingrained in society that people like they subscribe to it without even realizing it. And I feel like songs like this are great for exposing that in a very blatant way that isn't so like ham-fisted through the song and the music video itself.
Yeah, I mean, I think society tends to either put especially female artists in one box or the other, and I think especially this song really shows that you don't have to be in one of those boxes, but you could be in either, and you can be in the middle, and it's a spectrum. And you just shouldn't put women in these boxes, period. But it does show like the dichotomy.
For sure. And just to kind of quote her, I think she was on the Zane Lowe show, and she was talking about how socially we've been reduced to two categories. You are the Madonna or you are the whore. So if you're sexually desirable or like a sexual being, you're unfit for motherhood. You can never be someone's mom, but the second you are motherly or maternal and somebody does want you for their mother or their wife, you're unfuckable. And she nails it. Like, I feel like that's, like I said, it's something that it's not subtle, but it's also not completely like obvious to where it's like makes you roll your eyes.
Yeah, and I think that's usually the best way to get your point across, because if it's too subtle, people are not gonna get it, obviously, and if it's too in your face, as a woman, people think you're being too loud, like you're being too much about it. So I think when you're able to have a little bit of subtlety but not too much, that's when you can really get people's attention.
For sure. I think that she really sums up the album and the song pretty she summarizes pretty well in the sense that like she talks about the dichotomy of those two categories, but also the fact that people are going to look at this as a girl power anthem, and it is, but at the same time it's her basically saying like the quote that she had was, whenever she's talking about motherhood or pregnancy, she's always talking about it with like a taste in her mouth. And she said, like, go be a big girl. A girl is a gun, and and all I can taste is the blood in my mouth. And I feel like that really summarizes what she was going for. And then when you go back and listen to it, it's all of those things like entwined.
Mm-hmm. No, I definitely have to re-listen to it now, knowing this context, because like I said, I had no idea that was the root. I know she's a mother, and I know she's very proud to be a mother. And so that doesn't super surprise me, but I just had no idea that that's like where the root of this song came from. So now I need to go back and re-listen.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I love kind of digging into like the nerdy shit about all this and being able to kind of identify things, because yeah, it definitely changes. It changes it, but it doesn't remove your interpretation of it.
No, I don't think it would at all.
Yeah.
I'd also like to know like the artist's interpretation about it. So I think that is one of the great things about music, is that, you know, there is the artist interpretation, but like you also make it your own. So going back with that context, the song is what it is to me, and it's still very empowering, and I'm not a mother, and I don't think that matters for the purpose of the song.
For sure. We always talk about like the death of the author, because an author can have an intent, and that is great, and it's good to add context, but that also at the end of the day doesn't necessarily matter, because people are going to interpret it how they will. And I think that she left this open to be interpreted so many different ways. Mm-hmm. So someone else who's kind of in that same vein of celebrating different aspects of being a woman is Billie Eilish. Your second song was "You Should See Me in a Crown." This came out in 2019. It was this lead single on her debut album, "When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go?" Why do you pick this song?
Again, it seems like, to me, I interpret it to be very, very empowering for women. I mean, this one is, I think, a little bit more blatant in its interpretation. Like, you know, you should see me in a crown. Like, you should see me, I'm a queen, or even a king, however you want to interpret it. But it just really emphasizes, I think, another strong woman in the music industry. It makes me feel very strong when I listen to it. And it's another song that's like, the goal here is like, remind you who the fuck you are. Yeah. Like that's what this song does for me also.
Yeah, it's so on the nose, but there's also so much about it that is just really interesting in how it was like the genesis of it. So Billie Eilish and her brother Phineas, who write all their music together, they are big fans of the show Sherlock with our boy Dr. Strange, Benedict Cumberbatch. So there's a part where one of the like villains in the show, he steals like the crown jewel from the Queen of England, and there's this whole thing about like them trying to get it back or something. I don't know. I didn't watch the show, but there's a line in there where he like very sassily says like, "Honey, you should see me with the crown." And they're watching this and they're like Leonardo DiCaprio pointing at the TV meme, you know, they're like, "We should write a song." And that's where it starts. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty on the nose. There are little things. There's so many intricate things about like her songwriting process that I had to listen to like several podcasts to even like know any of this stuff. But there's a part where she mentions like, you fell in love with these ocean eyes. If I'm not mistaken, Ocean Eyes was like her first like big hit. So it's not only talking about like her physically, because her eyes are like ridiculously blue, but it's also about, you fell in love with this song. Wait till you see me when I'm at my like peak. And this is her fucking debut. Like this is like her like major debut, and to like call her shot like that is crazy. Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's something I really like, again, in a lot of these songs, is just like the confidence that the women singing them have. Like it's hard to be confident all the time in society, and especially, you know, because we're talking about this in the context of powerlifting and competitions, and you're in a male-dominated space, and something that I've dealt with for years being a woman in the gym is being a woman in a male-dominated space and having to deal with those feelings. And over time, it's definitely gotten a lot better. There's so many more women that are now in those spaces that it's not as intimidating, but that intimidation is still there. So just finding songs where women are being so confident in who they are as a person is really what I'm going for, especially at competition in life, but like also at powerlifting competitions in the gym, places like that.
I think that with this song, it, like we talked about, it is something that is very, she's kind of stating her claim. This is, like you said, or like we said, it's her debut album. It's her first single from her debut album. And it really just kind of sets a precedent for her. This music video there's 2 music videos for it that I think are kind of interesting. Have you seen either of them by chance?
I didn't do my homework.
No, there's no homework. Like,
no, and I have homework now after this podcast to go do.
I like getting the raw reaction because to me, like, my favorite part of the show is when we have guests on and this is about like their personal connection to it. Has nothing to do with what the artist intended, has nothing to do with like the context around it. Sometimes it does, but it doesn't have to. And I think it's more fun to kind of get that because everyone has different interpretations. And even after you get all the context, you're still going to have different interpretations. But there are 2 music videos, and this is the first song that I've talked about, I think, that had a vertical music video, like specifically for like social media. And the video is like her, like kind of just standing there or sitting there, and like spiders come out of her mouth. And she said she wanted to kind of create this vision of like a horror song. Like if you walked into like a dark room and you heard this song, you'd be like, oh shit, like what's going to happen to me? And I feel like it nails it. Like it's a really good
It does
concept.
have like a haunting energy associated with it, which is, it's actually kind of unusual that I like this song as much as I do, because that's not, like, I'm nothing against Billie Eilish, but I'm not, like, she's not really who I listen to very often. So it is interesting how into this song I am, especially with this like haunting sound, because that's not me really.
Yeah, it's really cool because I don't think it's not something that is particular to her sound in general. It is a little bit darker. I mean, her whole vibe is very like, I don't want to call it nihilistic, but it is very like apathetic. It is very like, it's so Gen X. Like it just, which I mean, she embodies that in like what she wears and how she presents herself. And I feel like that's kind of coming back in general with the Gen Z, I sound like such an old fuck. But yeah, the second music video is like an anime music video where they have this like anime avatar of her. And she turns into a spider. She's like really into spiders at this point, I guess. And then turns into like this giant cartoon spider and like destroys the city. And I think like both of these music videos really embody what the song is about, but also like the conquering of the city is very much like her kind of going with the whole purpose of the song is like, hey, here I am. Just wait until I rule the city. Watch your shoulder.
Hey, bud. What are we doing?
He's feeling froggy.
Yeah, I didn't know she was that into spiders. But yeah, it goes along with the whole, like the energy of like conquering something. Again, very motivating. That's the energy I want to embody, especially, you know, if you're trying to win a competition. Like, you're trying to take over. That's what it is.
For sure. And it's really transcended, like, just, like, female artists, because it was used for, there's a wrestling company called NXT, and they had a pay-per-view, and this was the theme song for that pay-per-view. When Deontay Wilder fought Tyson Fury, I think it was the first boxing match they had, it was the theme song for that pay-per-view. It's been used in Euphoria, show Only Murders in the Building, and in Agatha All Along. And just all those shows, I felt like it was used in a situation where it is very kind of like haunting, and like I feel like this is a perfect song to play at the end of a show when you find out something crazy. You know, it's just like the cliffhanger part of things, and it's a good needle drop for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like it's like, oh, now you know what's going on. Like, you're about to, more stuff is about to happen, though.
Yeah, and it's funny too because like the production of it, when they wrote this song, I think they wrote the lyrics first, based off of that Sherlock line, and they recorded it on like a voice recorder or like maybe like their iPhone or something, and they're playing it back and they're kind of going over what they wanted to change. And as they were doing that, their dad was in the kitchen like sharpening a knife, and they're like, "Oh, that sounds really cool." So they recorded that to kind of get the basis of what the music was going to be too. And it's just so funny how this all like came together. It's just such a like the family like all contributing without necessarily realizing it to an extent.
Yeah, it's that, I mean, it's really interesting, like, how these songs, it's always interesting to me how artists, like, get to where they're at creatively. And I feel like I hear more often than not, it's like super random stuff like that where they're like, oh yeah, that really hits with this. And like, I'm very left brain, so that is so mind boggling to me because my brain just does not work that way. So I can respect it. I do not understand how they get there.
Yeah, it's so funny just to see like the creative process because there are people who are very like.
Sorry, I'm lying. I'm very right brain.
I was gonna say,
that's what
okay.
I meant. I am 0% left brain. I am all right brain.
There is an aspect of like being right brain that can be like kind of weaponized to be creative because there are like, I mean, you look at guys like Jack Antonoff who are so like systematic, and when they want to do something, they know exactly how to do it, and it's very like it's super talented. There's obviously a creative aspect to it, but it is so like organized, and it's so like atypical from most people's creative process. And then you have these type of situations where it's all about circumstance. Like, had they not been in the kitchen listening to this, like, would it be a completely different song? This song too, there was an interview she did with Billboard, and she talks about how all her songs up to this point have been kind of sad. There is a lot of like balladry. I mean, she's got the voice for it. So with this song, she said she just wanted to freak people out. The whole goal was to like create something that like was scary. I think she nailed it. But she also said like in a way like being in control of like wanting to scare people or freak people out was also kind of empowering. And I think that overall, that's really what this song sells, is that you're able to kind of do all this and then still be in control. And lyrics aside, the lyrics are so on the nose. The music behind it kind of really adds to that element.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think there is something powerful in her being able to like, yeah, like I am so powerful that I am scaring people. And that's, I think, part of the takeaway with the song. But like you said, doing it in a more like control, like I'm doing this on purpose. Like I'm not out of control. I'm very controlled and very deliberate in what I'm doing. And it's because I am so powerful. And that I think is a great like message to take from the song. And like I said, I find this extremely empowering. Like, yeah, I know what I'm doing, and just you wait.
Yeah, it's so cool just because, like I mentioned earlier, like it has kind of transcended, with her in general. She's got like a female audience, but this song especially transcended to like the stuff that is normally used for these boxing matches and these wrestling is very butt rock. It's very like aggressive, like fucking beer commercial shit.
Yeah, it's interesting that you said that this was the song that like any wrestling anything would have used. That's so like out of character for what they typically do.
It's out of character, but it also like I see it.
No, it works.
Yeah,
it for sure works. That's just not like you said, like it's divorced dad rock that usually gets used in those scenarios. So I think it fits. I think it hits really well. But not what's expected.
For sure. And I think this also just kind of goes into her as an artist, her and Phineas as an artist. It's hard to like separate them, and this isn't to like take anything away from Billie Eilish because she is who she is because of who she is. But like her collaboration with her brother and the fact that they know each other so well, they love each other. Their bond is so like, it's so wholesome, but it's one of those things that like he's the perfect person to write for her and she's the perfect person to perform his songs because they connect so well. They know what each other likes, and I feel like they've never gotten into like a stereotypical sibling argument. They probably have, obviously, but they just have this connection that is so like, it's just so hard to copy that with anybody who, especially people who aren't related.
Yeah, I had no idea that was the relationship. I didn't know that she wrote a lot of her songs with her brother. I think having someone that you have grown up with, that you're so close to, that knows you so deeply, really only benefits music that you're writing and performing, because it's like having almost another version of you that can help contribute to the creative process.
For sure. And I just love what they put out, even if it's a song that I'm not necessarily like into. Just them being able to really capture her voice, even when it changes. I mean, this song came out 7 years ago, which is crazy to think about.
I can't believe the song is that old.
Yeah. So her stuff now is very different. She won an Oscar. She's won several Grammys, but she's still her, and be able to capture her voice in these different like types of like costumes of sound is really, really impressive. Especially for someone both of them are so young.
Yeah, I was gonna say, aren't they like Gen Z?
Yeah, they're definitely not 30 yet. I know that much. Yeah.
Oh no.
So the next song you picked was by Rihanna. The song is Hard. It was off of her fourth album, Rated R, from 2009. That's almost 20 years old now. It's
Stop.
More than 15.
Stop. Cut the tape. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore.
It was her second single, her 13th top 10 single, which is, I know she's got hits, but at this point in time, 15 years ago, didn't realize she had 13 within the span of like 3 years. What made you decide to do this song?
It was actually really hard to pick one from Rihanna. I have a few of her songs on my playlist because I think she's kind of been a bit of like a feminist icon that we've been able to grow up with because, like you said, it's been 20 years. And so like I said, it was hard to narrow down. I think this one's the most, sometimes you just really want it to be blatant. Like when you're in that like mindset, you just kind of want it to be like, I don't need to like think about this. I need you to say like what I need to hear, and that's kind of what this song is. I don't have to like interpret anything, but like I said, there's a lot of her songs that I think are really hype for women and that were on the original playlist but didn't make the cut to talk about today.
Yeah, this is a turning point for her. This is the first album that came out after Chris Brown assaulted her. And I think it came out within 9 months of the assault. And as much as there's a lot of like evil producers out there who really do horrible things, I'm saying this because I don't know a lot about L.A. Reid from that level, but he really championed her to be like, you're not a victim. We're going to shift you. Because before this, the good Girl Gone Bad is still very much like she's kind of like very like pop princessy. She still has her edge, but her edge is more in terms of like her fashion. It's not about her sound. And Rated R is called Rated R, not just because her name's Rihanna, but because this was more leaning into where she went from her career on. This is such a turning point that like she was getting songs that were like, they were presented to her and said, hey, this is a hit. And she's like, I don't want hits. I want something more personal. I want something with more edge. I want something that really explains who I am and who I am now as a person. And I'm not just a victim. I'm more than that. And yeah, I feel like Bitch Better Have My Money doesn't happen without Rated R. It comes later, and it's one of those songs. That's one of those songs that like is so like simplistic in the sense that there's not a lot of tracks on it, or not a lot of like tracks that are obvious. And it's very like, it's such like so gritty. It's not overproduced or anything, and that's so intentional. She said she didn't want hits, and it ends up being a hit anyway. All of these end up being hits anyway.
Yeah. I mean, she's an extremely talented artist. So, yeah, I obviously knew about the history with Chris Brown, but I'm not surprised. I didn't realize the timing of those two incidents and this album coming out, but that makes so much sense with some of the songs that were on that album, especially this one. And I think it's obviously, I've said empowering like 100 times, but it is. I mean, that's the best word for it, for sure. To really change the narrative, because I think a lot of people did want to feel sorry for her. And I don't think she wanted that. I think she's like you said, like, I'm not a victim. Like, I am a survivor, and like, fuck that guy.
Yeah, for sure. It's there's so many. It's also like a turning point in terms of like when different types of demographics started getting into her, in the sense that like I feel like I bring up Pitchfork Media a lot, and if you're not familiar with Pitchfork Media, they're very like hipsterish. And this was around the time where Pitchfork really started paying more attention to her and to like hip hop and R&B in general, like a few years before this. But there's this really great Pitchfork review that goes on. The quote is, "The Bulletproof Guys is good for the record's high point on Hard, a strutting statement of power bolstered by a roiling undertow of a beat from Umbrella producer Tricky Stewart." So the fact that it's coming from the same producer that produced her first really big hit, Umbrella, and they really were able to adapt to who she is. I think she co-wrote this too. She was a little bit more active than she was before in the writing process. And I think that is also just a part of why this is so much more personal.
Mm-hmm. I think that shows through, like you said, like her style definitely changed from her first 2 albums to this one. And I think it's obvious that she was taking a more personal role in the song she was writing and song she was performing. And you can just hear that. I mean, she went through something horrific and very publicly horrific. And I think she was like, well, I want to control the narrative on this. And she did that through, I think, this album.
Yeah, for sure. When talking about like this specific single, she talks about how the production team, she was in Paris, and that's when they presented her. They presented her a bunch of songs, and this one specifically stuck out, at least the basis of what it was. And she talks about how it stuck out because it has such an arrogance to it, which is so far from who I am, and it's so weird to hear her say that.
That's crazy. I would never describe her as arrogant.
Yeah.
I think that obviously has a lot of negative connotations with it, but like I do see her as like a very strong very strong woman who's extremely powerful and confident in her own right. Like if she was arrogant, she's earned that as far as I'm concerned. So it's crazy to me for her to say that quote, honestly.
There's a level of arrogance that is like, there's a spectrum, I think, of arrogance. And arrogance, I don't, like you said, I don't think it's the right word. But I think from where she was at this point, hearing it for the first time, describing it as arrogance, that just transformed to like confidence. And I feel like the confident, like Rihanna that we know now, like this is her metamorphosis. This is like her cocoon where she comes out and is like a new person. She still retains like who she was and doesn't ever get rid of that. But at the same time, she's just so much more sure of herself. And it goes beyond confidence. And yeah, I don't want to call it arrogance.
Yeah, that's where I'm like, it's not just, confidence doesn't feel like a fair word, but arrogant has so many like negative connotations to it. And like arrogance to me, it means like you're overly confident without deserving to be that way. And I think that doesn't fit her at all.
Yeah, for sure. There was this interview on Fuse that she did, and they asked her if this was an angry album, and she refused to call it an angry album. Like, yeah, there are like parts that may be angry, but this is about like, there's so many different emotions and moods that are in here.
I think trying to title it as like an angry or label it as an angry album like really takes away like the depth of emotions that she probably meant to portray in this type of album. Like that just makes it like one single thing. Like I'm mad that this man did these things to me, and honestly that gives him way too much credit.
For sure. It's, yeah, exactly. And that kind of takes away her control of the situation, because if this is quote unquote like considered a revenge album, then it's predicated on what he did to her as opposed to her doing this because this is who she is. Do you know the original title for this album?
No.
So fucking good. It's literally Such a Fucking Lady.
I like Rated R because it's, she's Rihanna. Yeah. It's, it's clever in that way. But I love that title. I get why that didn't fly, but I like that one a lot.
I feel like if this were a debate like now, she would just put out Such a Fucking Lady.
Well, because who's going to tell her no?
Yeah, exactly.
This was, you said it was her third album?
Fourth, I think.
Okay, her fourth album, and, her other ones had been, like, such a different style, and she was, like, a star, but she wasn't the Rihanna that we know today. Because, yeah, she would just say, fuck it, and let's go.
Yeah, I mean, she co-wrote, I mentioned she co-wrote most of the songs. She co-wrote 9 of the 13 songs on here. She talks about how, like, the whole Rated R, like, persona of her is her being tough but not too tough, like being a badass but still being a lady, which in like 2025 that whole concept has become kind of like run over and over again, to where like the repetition of it, of people trying to like emulate that, it just feels insincere now. But at the time, I feel like this was something that it was very insincere, and it was something that she really was able to express herself fully through that. But yeah, I think that, we talk about her in terms of like her sound and, her fashion. I mean, this is also when she went to like the bob haircut. It was something, or she went from the bob, to like it's not like a mohawk, but it's like I don't know what hairstyles are, but she cut it shorter, and it really like had her hit the ground running in terms of like where she was going with her sound and her like whole branding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's very freeing for a lot of women who've historically had like longer hair to then make the switch to a shorter, potentially like more masculine hairstyle. And I think it's an awakening for a lot of women to be like, yeah, like I am a woman, I am feminine, but like I don't have to be society's view of like what is femininity.
Oh, for sure. One thing that I thought was interesting is when talking about like her influences. I mean, they're all like some of them are pretty like standard. Like you would think that someone in the R&B space like Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston, but she also brings up like Celine Dion and Shania Twain. And Shania Twain actually was one of the songs that we talked about putting on here, but it might be too on the nose. Man, I Feel Like a Woman is the song I feel that like most women when they hear it, they will run through a wall. Like that is their like, yeah. So the fact that that was such a driving point, and considering, I mean, Shania Twain went through something similar in her divorce and in adultery with her husband cheating on her with her best friend. There is an aspect of that. Obviously, like these, like being assaulted is much worse, but there is this aspect of it that comes from a place where she's really like asserting herself as a human being and who she is now. That I feel like you hear a little bit of Shania in this album and in song.
I obviously had no idea of that influence, but I do love Shania, and so I feel like there's a lot of it. Well, it's nice to hear that there were so many like female influences, and she pulled from that to really get this like, yeah, like I am a woman, I'm getting through this, like this is the energy I'm bringing moving forward.
For sure. It's funny because this definitely, I don't want to say like this changed her because this was always there in her, and this is like what made it come out of her from a public perspective. And there were like accusations of her being a mean girl by Ciara. Are you familiar at all with the Ciara Rihanna beef?
I'm not, but I wish I was.
So Ciara in an interview had stated that she had toured with Rihanna, but I guess it was more like an open thing where they didn't really like hang out a lot. And she had mentioned running into her on like, I don't know if it was like the Met Gala or something, but she said that, yeah, she wasn't very nice to me. And Rihanna took exception to that and responded in tweet, I'm sorry, did I not tip you? To which Ciara responded with, you don't want to run into me, whether it be on the stage or off the stage. And Rihanna clapped back with, what is this stage that you talk of? Good luck finding the stage that you talk of. Because at this point, Ciara was kind of at a lull. They've made up. They're cool now. And I think Rihanna just said she was really like, her feelings got hurt because she said she was mean. But I love that there is this aspect of Rihanna that is she's got the tough girl image, but is still like very vulnerable. And I mean, the clapbacks were good. When I think of Rihanna, I think of two things. I think of her walking in like thin high heels over this like grate. Have you seen that picture?
I don't think so.
She's in like super like thin high heels and she's walking over a grate, not looking down, just like walking like model runway stuff.
That stresses me out even thinking about it.
I just remember specifically because she's wearing a Spurs jersey. So obviously as a Spurs fan, I'm like in love with this picture. But then you look down and all the details, it looks like it's Photoshopped because she's just walking and it's like she's walking in between the grates that are like this thin. So I think of that and I think of her beef with Ciara because that's fucking hilarious. And I'm not even like I'm not a hater of Ciara. You're not a hater of Ciara because your next song is Ciara's Like If I fucking nailed that transition.
I saw it coming though. I was like, I know where
took me forever to get to the point, but I nailed it. So yeah, you picked Like a Boy by Ciara. It is off of her second album, Ciara, The Evolution from 2006. Why this song?
This is definitely one of those more like on the nose type songs. Again, like being, not to like dwell on this too much, but it's being a woman in such a male dominated field. It's like exceptionally male dominated. That's the thing. Like there's so many rooms that women can be in that are going to be male dominated, but strength sports is one of those that, at least when I started powerlifting, I don't have any facts to back this up. I'm going off vibes completely. But I feel like the like actual percentage was like 90-10 for men versus women participating in these. And there's been a lot of hate that, you know, you get over the years. Like, there's men that don't want you in their space. There's men on, unfortunately, the internet who hate that you exist and will go out of their way to insult you. And for what?
Yeah.
So having a song like this really just calls out like the double standard of like, yeah, you hate that I'm doing all these things just because I'm a woman. And if I was a boy, no one would say fucking anything.
Yeah, for sure. It's one of those things too where I feel like, especially, I mean, this is another 20-year-old song about, it's 19 years.
I knew this one was old. And I'm like, oh, God.
But even in 2006, this feels like obvious that this is something that still goes on. And I feel like, I mean, it's always good that people are getting their eyes open to things, but like in 2006, this was still pretty obvious of these double standards. And that's what the song is all about, you know, the double standards of not just even from like a level of like men in society, but men in relationships and the things that men can get away with, or that the things that things that men use as excuses, or things that really effectively aren't great for anybody in the relationship. This album's really interesting because I think it's their second album. A lot of the song was co-written by Ciara. I think the guy that wrote it was like 19. This also came out before Beyonce's "If I Were a Man." I always thought it was flipped, but when asked about it, Ciara was like, "No, like that's a ballad. Like it's completely different. Like this concept isn't new."
Yeah, like I do see the similarities between those songs, but this is something that, I mean, you can ask any woman. Like, this has been something, like, they'll be able to relate to themes in this song. And like you said, this came out in 2006, so it's an old song, but I mean, this is something that like women still deal with today. Like, it was true then, it was true now, it was true before that.
Yeah.
So women writing songs about this doesn't mean, like, I feel like people want to be like, oh, well, she stole that song, or this idea came from her. And it's like, no, this is just how unfortunately, this is just how society is. And that's why women are singing about it. And it should be brought to the light.
For sure. I think that, so with this song, it's really interesting to listen to it now because it does sound like 2006. She was deemed like is it the princess or the first lady of Crunk and B? And I haven't heard the word crunk in like 20 years. And I was like, damn, like what a time to be alive. But she was actually born in Austin. She moved when she was young to Atlanta, and she really is an embodiment of that Atlanta sound. I mean, that whole, like, I guess it's called Crunk and B. I didn't realize this because I know Crunk and B was the thing, but you listen to it and it totally makes sense. And this is the era of like Lil Jon and like Usher, yeah, and like that whole Atlanta scene was just really taking over the airwaves. And she kind of not just benefited from this, but she was a big part of that success. And this was I think her only #1 album to this day. But yeah, I think that where she was at this point in time, this is another, we talked a lot about, there's a through line of like this is like her renaissance. This is her like revitalization of what she is as a person and as an artist. Mm-hmm. And it was called Evolution, which is pretty on the nose, but it goes beyond just her as a person and goes into her sound, her fashion, and everything. There's actually like different sections of the album that are called like evolution of sound, evolution of music, evolution of fashion, and yeah, she really embodies all of that for this album. It's almost like a concept album in a way.
Yeah, you are the one doing the research on this, so I didn't know a lot about that. I like that I really like that the album is like organized this way. Something that, you know, we've talked about a little bit is how, like, for women, what the theme seems to be is that like they have to establish themselves as like an artist, and they have to kind of give in to like, this is what people want to hear and this is like what's popular, and then they can transition to doing an album of like what they really want to talk about. And I'm not saying that men don't have to do that. I feel like a lot of this I've been like, woe is me as a woman, and that's not how I feel at all. But it is interesting to me because I feel like every song we've talked about so far, it's like, yeah, they did this first album or these first couple albums and it was what everybody wanted, and then they got to really come into themselves and be like, oh yeah, now I can have thoughts about things. And it's just, I get it, but the realization at the same time, and like you couldn't just as an artist make it based on like your own, like these are my thoughts and feelings that I want to sing about and want to perform and want to create. It's a little bit of a bummer.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it doesn't help also that her first album came out a year after she graduated from high school.
No, she was just a baby.
Yeah. So, I mean, you hear all these horror stories, especially about like young pop artists, young pop women artists. And I don't know if there's anything to that level. There's definitely some, bad situations that she was probably in, but it's great that she was able to kind of come out with this, and her second album being something that was more her. And not being, I think she had a lot of great mentors. I think that Atlanta scene in general was very good about just protecting their own and like, making sure that they got what they needed. And especially not just from a personal level, but from like a musical level too. And the fact that she was able to co-produce and co-write on this song, she's like 22, 23. I mean, people are just getting out of college at this time, and
that by itself is like really impressive. I mean, I remember vaguely being 22 to 23, and it shows a lot of depth, honestly, like the lyrics to this song, and a lot of awareness that I don't know that I even had at that age.
Oh, for sure. And it's something that I think that she is really good at capturing that without it being so like, you hear some artists who are out and they write these very like couplet songs that just sound like nursery rhymes and things like that. And if it's on like a really dope beat, then you don't even care about that. And this is not like that at all. Like this is very like deep, but not to the point where the point is missed.
It does have a dope beat though, which is the first time I've said that in my entire life.
It's funny because like I talked about how it sounds like 2000. I don't believe you. It sounds like 2006 embodied, because like the strings are very like, I hear thong song when I hear the strings come in the beginning, and then the beat is very like, I know it's Atlanta crunk and B, but it does sound very Timbaland-ish, and Timbaland was like everywhere at this point in time. So there's so many aspects of it that is kind of encapsulated in the sound, but it also is kind of timeless too. Like you compare this to the other songs we talked about that are more recent.
I wish it was less timeless.
Oh yeah.
I wish it was less timeless, because again, like I said, like this is something that women have dealt with. So I want it to be less timeless.
For sure. Like thematically, it's definitely, that would be preferred.
The song, the like sound of the song itself, like that, I mean, I think it holds up for sure, but it's not really like what we hear today. The themes, it would have been nice if that was like, that stayed. And that was like, it's so weird to be like that in the early 2000s. Can't even imagine doing that anymore.
It sounds like low-rise jeans. Like that's what I hear when I hear the song. But yeah, it is something that, I mean, no matter what happens, it feels like this is something that's been pushed so much that people are still surprised when it is pushed again and 20 years later. Have you seen this? I'm going to talk a lot about music videos. Have you seen this music video?
I wish you would have given me that heads up before, because I love music videos, and I do think I've seen this one, but like, because I'm picturing like it's in black and white. Yeah, so I have seen it, but like the song is 19 years old, so I've seen it, but like,
So she has ties to football because she is currently married to Russell Wilson.
That I obviously know.
Reggie Bush was in this music video as
funny.
Yeah, he was I think this was maybe before he dated Kim K, maybe a little after, I don't know. That doesn't matter. He's like in this chair, and she's like basically like kind of like dancing around him and like, telling him like off and stuff. And he does a really good job of being like the like humiliation chair type of trope for music videos. And then she like, there's a section where she does this dance and she's dressed like a dude, like she's wearing like, baggy jeans.
Yeah, that I remember. She's dressed very masculine.
Tank top and hat, and she's got these like fake tattoos. And I saw like the behind the scenes of the video, and like all the tattoos, which you can barely see, and like the quality of like the 480p of the video now. All of the tattoos like had like symbolism. They're talking about like her family and different. So it's pretty cool to like be able to include that as something personal, even if people aren't really gonna see or pay attention to that. I don't see like 40 Easter eggs you missed from, you know, Like a Boy music video, but maybe there is an audience for that. I'd be down to watch that.
I love Easter eggs. I would totally be down for that. But yeah, obviously, like I said, I've seen the music video, but didn't know about that additional meaning in there.
Yeah, and this was actually, ironically enough, this was the first time, she said this is the first time she's ever worn a dress in a video. She's always worn like jeans and I guess just not dress. This is her first dress. So for a video
that's interesting that was the music video, the first one that she had like a very like hyper feminine outfit on in.
For sure. And it's funny because I think that I don't even know if that was like realized until after the fact. It wasn't like, I don't know if it was intentional, but it works. And if she says it's intentional, I believe it.
I promise that she knew. Like, I promise that she clocked it, even if other people didn't. Like, I feel like women's outfit choices, especially in something like that, they're going to be very, like, intentional. And so I can almost guarantee that she knew it was the first time. Like, she had done it, and, like, ironically enough, that's the music video it was in. And
I think it's also perfect because it really, like, we talked about with a lot of these songs, you have a feminine side, but you can still have a masculine side without degrading either one of them. And, so moving on to your last song, you picked GloRilla, Bad Bitch for you. I didn't want to pronounce it the way because I don't sound cool saying this.
No, I'm not gonna say it.
GloRilla is so fucking cool. When you put this on here, you were talking about like maybe switching out a song, and I was like, "Don't switch out GloRilla," because I want to.
I like full disclosure, like I know the least about her out of all of this, so I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna talk about this that much.
How did you like come across this song? Was it TikTok?
Oh God, it had to have been TikTok.
So there's a couple of like viral songs from her from TikTok, but this one has the fuck y'all trend where people
love that trend. Love it.
I had to downplay it because I'm not going to look cool doing it. Basically, people will make a TikTok to this sound, the song, this section of the song, and the part where she ad-libs fuck y'all, she really, really like takes it from the deepest corners of her soul and then releases the fuck. I didn't know about this trend, and I've been familiar with GloRilla just because of like, because she's in this she's been to the Grammys, she's been nominated for Grammys, and she's at that level. But this is not on my algorithm.
Well, as we've talked about, your algorithm sucks.
It is very different. I think one of the first things you and I ever bonded on was Vine. And
for sure.
It's funny that like TikTok is just so aimed, and I feel like there is like a Venn diagram of certain things, but there are also things that I'm just like completely unaware of until Sean, my wife, tells me, or until you guys talk about it, or until, and I think from talking about it, it comes up on my algorithm. And as someone who is chronically online, it's also like being chronically online is not something to brag about, and it is something that like I'm like, oh yeah, I'm chronically online, so I know all this dumb shit.
Whatever, I wear it like a badge of honor.
But at the same time, to be like chronically online and still be unaware of this is like even more like depressing, because like, oh, like as chronically online as I am, I'm still not at the level of knowing all this shit. But yeah, what made you decide to put this on your playlist?
It's just a really good fucking song. She speaks about herself like, I am the baddest bitch and I don't need anybody else to tell me that. Like, I know it in my soul that it's true. And that is the confidence that I wish I had about anything. And so I listen to the song when I'm at the gym, like, for sure, but, like, this is definitely one that I will just listen to around the house, too, because, like I said, this is, like, the energy that I wish I embodied. I think she is so cool.
She really is. She's so cool, and she's also so, like, she's still green, because she's still new to the business. Like, she talked about meeting Beyonce. And
she doesn't care.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. Like, she's like, I am so cool. I don't care that like I deserve to be here. Like I know I am talented enough to be here, and like she is just so confident in like her own abilities that like she doesn't give the energy that she's green, even though like I know she is.
Yeah, it's so fun to see her. Like, I don't even want to call it vulnerable because it's not her being vulnerable so much as it is just her being sincere. She was talking about meeting Beyonce and was like, I had to touch her because I didn't think she was real. Like I thought she was like an angel. Like, and it's so wild. She's like, yeah, like 3 years ago I was like listening to these people. I was looking up to these people. Now like I'm a contemporary with them. And you would never like know that she had these type of like thoughts from her music, and it's just so telling because you still don't doubt her either. Like you said, like she's green, but she's also like she's just honest. Like it's not like she can be like honest and sincere about it because she doesn't give a fuck like what people are gonna think about her for being that way.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit. So that's something like that I actually think is like really promising about this like timeline because, like I said, like I feel like we've talked a lot about the woe is me kind of stuff, but like this is a woman who is not on her like fourth, fifth, sixth album saying what she wants to say and being the person that she is. Like it's, I don't know, like I don't know what album she's on. Is this her
Technically her first.
Technically her first.
Yeah, she had mixtapes before.
Okay, I thought it was her first, but I was like not confident.
Well, this song is from her first mixtape. Well, I don't know if it's first mixtape, but a mixtape that came out in 2024 called Everything, and it didn't really catch on in TikTok till 2025, till like maybe a few months ago, because there were a lot of TikTok creators. Some I don't want to mention because they suck. But
don't
like,
give them that airtime.
Yeah, but even they're famous TikTokers who were doing the trend, and I think as of March 2025, over 200,000 videos were created using this sound.
I'm surprised the number is like that low, honestly.
That was also 3 months ago, so I'm sure it's probably like, if not double, maybe triple.
It's definitely more.
Yeah,
it's significantly more now. I still get these videos like on my algorithm or my FYP. So no, I think like it's amazing for her like first album essentially to be out here and being like, yeah, I'm this bad bitch. Like, what are you gonna do about it? Like, that's just not something that I feel like historically women have really been able to do. So that's something that's like very promising about the hellscape that is 2025.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she talks about how this song is about embracing confidence and individuality. She's celebrating women who embody strength and independence. And that's so like...
Look how on the nose that is for powerlifting.
Yeah, exactly. It's so also just so bare minimum that this should be something that is already celebrated. And it takes a song that like takes the world by storm like this to really like, oh yeah, we got to like respect women and their independence, you know?
And that's not to say, like, I feel like the way I'm wording a lot of this is that she's, like, the first woman ever to do it. And that's not what I think. I think she's one of the first women who have been respected for doing that. And that doesn't say anything about the artist or any other artist that tried to or has made music that just hasn't gone as viral. I think that speaks more to, like, us as a society accepting this, because I know that there have been other women that have done their best to like put out songs like this and it just wasn't as well received as this type of song. So that's more of like what my commentary is on versus like her as an artist, even though like she obviously is extremely talented and I don't want to take away from that at all. I just think nature is healing. Maybe we are improving a little bit as society, that we heard this song from a very strong, confident, empowered woman and actually like embraced it and made and had it go viral, had it be as popular as it is, versus I don't know, maybe like 5 or 10 years ago, and I'm sure there were other people doing this and it just went nowhere for them because society just was like, no, I don't fucking care.
Yeah, it's something that it's so like, it's baby steps. We have to celebrate our wins. Yeah. Like, even if it's obviously this isn't solving everything, but at the same time, this should be celebrated. It's something that just really, I mean, there's such, like, we talked about Billie Eilish transcending like female demographics to like be in these other arenas of like tough man bullshit, you know, or masculinity. And she's very similar. And I think it's just telling because she started out as a singer. She was in her like church choir. Her middle name is literally Hallelujah. It's Gloria Hallelujah. I forgot her last name. Is it Woods? Woods. Yeah. Gloria Hallelujah Woods. She started out in the church choir. she stopped going to the church choir, and she claims that she got a deeper voice from like smoking a lot of weed. She started smoking a lot, and that affected her voice. And when she couldn't sing the way she used to, she decided, well, maybe I can rap. And when she first started out rapping, she did try to keep more of like a feminine voice. I mean, she's so young. She was born in 1999. And so I'm sure you're looking at like Pink Friday from Nicki Minaj, and there's a very like high pitched, not high pitched, but just very like feminine voice in rap. And I don't know if she's necessarily inspired by that, but that's what was really kind of big in terms of like female rappers. But her friends were like, no, like you need to do your like natural deep voice. And that's the essence of this song and all of her songs, is that like it's not masculine so much as it is just like
just really powerful.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There is like just a real energy with that like deeper voice that it commands attention.
For sure. It's something that I think that is what we kind of need as a society. And I also love too that this type of music, and since like she describes her type of music as like crunk and dominant. And this
love that.
Yeah.
Honestly.
This is the type of music that I feel like 20 years ago probably wouldn't get the same amount of mainstream success. I don't think you would see these nominated for Grammys because it was foreign to a lot of the voters within the Grammys. And I feel like, for one thing, the voters are getting younger, and there's also different perspectives changing. And because of what's going on in society, not just American society, but like in society in general in the world, you're able to appreciate this from a level that probably wasn't appreciated as much 10, 20, even 30 years ago.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I don't think that this would have been received well, even like you said, even like 10 years ago. It's amazing that songs like this are winning Grammys, that there's more inclusivity, and you know, it's not the same stereotypical types of music that are winning awards all the time now. Obviously, there's always work to be done. There's a lot of room to improve, but it's promising that that's the direction we're moving in. We appear to be moving in.
Yeah, for sure. So there's nowhere else to put this, but I thought this was a fun fact. Her and Cardi B are cousins.
I had no idea.
I had no idea either. I remember in like the early to mid 2000s, you'd always hear about certain people being related, and it was only, especially like within the hip hop community, and 50% of the time it wasn't true, and you just sound racist. So when I saw that they were related, I literally like found 5 sources that confirmed that, because I didn't want to be a part of the problem. But yeah, apparently they've confirmed that they are related. And Cardi B was one of the first to like really like not promote her, but really like shout her out. She has a song FNF Let's Go that came out I think last year, and Cardi B went on a radio. I think this is before they knew they were related, and she was like, "This is the song of the summer," and like she like posted on her story. Cardi B she had a charge for an assault like from a fight from like 2018, and in 2024 or maybe 2023, she avoided jail time, and outside the courtroom, she posted an Instagram story, and she quoted a GloRilla song, and I can't remember what it was, but she quoted it, and GloRilla was still like doing mixtapes at this time, so that blew her mind. It's so crazy because in the last 3 years, she's blown up, and she's still 20, 25, 26, so it's just so crazy to be able to do that, and that's just a testament to like how talented she is, and how much like gusto she has, and the confidence she has.
Yeah, again, like going back to like when I was in my I'm just outing myself, when I was back in the day when I was in my early 20s, like I still have trouble with having this level of confidence, and I'm not in my early 20s anymore. So crazy that even back then she was like, yeah, I'm a bad bitch.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I mean, I think it's fun to kind of connect these things, and really like we talked about the through line with all 5 of these songs, but this like metamorphosis, and like we talk about the fact that a lot of them, Ciara especially, GloRilla especially, they, like you said, they were very young. I mean, you were pretty young when you started powerlifting, even though that was new to you. It's just interesting to see like that timeline of things, of where you were then, where you are now, and where they were then, where they are now, and then what's next for the future. I mean, as a world champion of bench pressing. Where do you see yourself in terms of like going with the sport? You said you want to continue, you want to keep it doing. What's next?
So there's bench press worlds, but then there's like what we call full power worlds, which is squat, bench, and deadlift, and that is a lot steeper competition. Not to downplay my own accomplishments, but being able to qualify for worlds as a full power athlete is a huge honor. And so I'm hopeful that that's going to be my next goal. Well, it is my next goal. I'm hoping that's my next successful goal, is to be able to make the world's team for the world competition next year. We'll see. I'm coming off a couple injuries, so I'm still in the process of healing. It kept me from being able to squat and deadlift, which is why I was focusing so much on bench. But I am healed, I think. So I'm able to push squat and deadlift again, and hopefully I'll be able to put up a respectable total again here soon.
Dope. That's awesome. So we've reached kind of the end of your playlist. As we talked about, there were several songs that weren't on this list. What are some of the ones that were hard to leave off?
So something that is totally different from every song we've talked about today is that sometimes these songs will get me like too hype. And so there are definitely some songs on my playlist that are very sad girl songs, like super, super depressing songs that I just respect like lyrically. And so I really enjoy them, but like definitely help to like calm me down. Unfortunately, when I get too hype, it has to be something like heart-shattering, detrimental lyrics to like bring me back down to a normal level of chill, which is still questionable, honestly. So there's definitely some songs by like Taylor Swift that I'll listen to, some of her like more recent work that are just like so sad lyrically. That'll help. So those play an important role, especially on competition day when I don't want to get like too like overdone. And then, you know, this has been primarily focused on female artists, but like it was never a phase girly. So there's a lot on that playlist too, from like Fall Out Boy, Panic at the Disco, Mayday Parade, and things like that are just like, those are so ingrained like in my personality and me as a being, that it's just good, solid music to listen to if I want good vibes. So wasn't the theme of today, so it didn't make the cut, but still very frequently listened to.
Awesome. I think that it's so fun to hear that you have like, there's like almost like a science to this, that the hype and the come down. And that's why we started the podcast. I mean, it's all about like creating these stories from these playlists or mixtapes. As someone who like grew up making mix CDs for people, you can't just throw them on there. So it's so cool to hear that even in this scenario or in this like perspective.
And it even varies from like lift to lift. So like, for me, squat is my worst lift. And so I need to be more confident going into that lift than other ones, because I know it's not my best. So like the songs we talked about today would definitely be like played before I would squat. And then bench, sometimes I'm too hype. So like it's a lot of sad music sometimes. But also, again, like we talked about, like I am really good at benching. And so reminding myself that like I am a god level bencher, which I'm not even sad. I'm not even apologizing for saying.
You shouldn't.
I won a world competition, so suck it. Yeah. And then deadlift is a fun lift, so I just need to be like in a good mood. So that'll be more like Fall Out Boy, Mayday Parade, like they're like more like upbeat songs, like just to get me in the right mindset for each lift.
That's cool. It's like I said, it's so fun to hear that. It's so fun to like really, and then like watching you in competition now, I'm gonna hear like these songs and like what's playing in my head, what you would probably be listening to. Do you have any shout outs, any plugs? Any your brands other than Teddy, of course?
Obviously, shout out to my godson Teddy, who only sat on my lap for like 2 minutes of this entire time.
I got 0 this episode.
Well, I'm the favorite of the godparent. Well, you're the parent, but whatever. I'm godparent. But shout out to SBD for the sponsorship. New Aspire line just dropped. That's all I got to hype.
Cool.
Thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. We had talked about doing this a while ago, and I appreciate you just like really taking it seriously, because it's really easy to just be like, here are 5 songs, whatever. Like, shut up, Eric. But no, thank you so much. Good luck with Worlds for everything else, and yeah, and thank you for listening to Mixtape Stories.
Thanks for having me. I learned a lot. I have homework now to watch music videos, but I love watching music videos, so it's not really homework.
We can do another episode later down the line, some seasons if you want to do, and then I'll make sure to include the music videos.
I
want to
do one exclusively on the music videos.
Okay, we can figure it out.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks so much.